Steve Malzberg.
Two systems went against George Zimmerman that he can't understand. You guys, the media, he was like a patient in an operating table where mad scientists were committing experiments on him and he had no anesthesia. He didn't know why he was turned into this monster, but quite honestly, you guys had a lot to do with it. You just did, because you took a story that was fed to you and you ran with it, and you ran right over him. And that was horrid to him.
All right. Welcome back, Steve Malzberg Show, hour number 3. That was Mark O'Mara, the lead defense attorney for George Zimmerman, speaking after the verdict on Saturday. Joining us now, and I don't know how she managed to find time for us today. She's doing O'Reilly. She's been on TV all day. She's doing everything. Is our friend Lis Wiehl, Fox News legal analyst, author of A Matter of Trust. Hey, Lis.
Steve, great to be with you.
But you're going to do O'Reilly tonight?
Yeah, O'Reilly and Dobbs before that. Yes.
All right, so we'll be watching. And but okay, so you heard Mark O'Mara there talk about how the media had a lot to do with turning George Zimmerman into a villain. That was after the verdict, so he was talking about right along. I don't know if he expected what has happened since the verdict. In my view, the media has doubled down, full steam ahead. And so has the so-called civil rights movement, and so has the Justice Department.
Well, I don't think the media has much to do with that. The media is just reporting on what the Civil Rights Department or what Civil Rights Department of Justice are talking about, what the NAACP is talking about. NAACP right after the verdict, and I was here at Fox when it came in on Saturday night. Right after that, said, we want an investigation. Eric Holder came out today, and he didn't say so much that there would be an investigation, but it's pretty clear that the department is at least going to look at potential hate crime violations. I think it's a very, very tough burden for the department to try to meet, and they would have to go to a grand jury, and that's sort of where everything should have started with the Florida case anyway, having gone to a grand jury, which, of course, the prosecutor never did.
Right. Well, what worries me about the Justice Department is you could indict a ham sandwich, is what they always say. And people... There's no one in America, I'm sorry, that isn't going to know about George Zimmerman if they didn't know about him before. So how are you going to get a jury pool or or grand jury that doesn't have a prejudice? And I think race will play a factor. But Eric Holder today said some things which many of the guests we've had leading up to you have found shocking. First of all, he called the shooting an unnecessary shooting death. He said that today to Delta Sigma Beta. He said the Justice Department shares your concern over the verdict. I share your concern over the verdict. This is the Attorney General of the United States talking about a verdict of a person who's now not guilty.
Right, who's been acquitted, exactly. No, it's highly unusual, but at least with the grand jury, and you're right, everyone will have heard about it. Any kind of grand jury that is convened in Florida will have, remember, it would have to be in Florida, would have heard about it. But that's not the test. The test is whether or not even though you've heard about it, you've read the accounts, you've listened to television, all of that, you can still be fair and impartial in looking at it. And it's a different burden. It's a probable cause burden.
A higher burden.
Well, no, the grand jury is a lower burden.
Oh, not the grand jury. I'm sorry. I thought you meant civil rights violation charges. Yeah.
I think it's nearly impossible for the department to go that route, because you would have to prove that Zimmerman acted out of racial animus.
Right.
That was the reason that he shot Martin. And all of the evidence that came out at trial was that no, he was acting in self-defense. The forensic guy there at the very end, the gunshot expert, said, look, Zimmerman's account sounds right, and Zimmerman's account being, I was flat on my back, my head was being bashed in against the concrete, and I shot out of self-defense. When you look at the prosecution's weak case and you meet that with Florida's very, very strong self-defense law, it really could have been no other verdict than what it was.
Right, and that was DeMaio, and
Right.
I know that because his brother Cinco is a good friend of mine. Anyway, that's how I remembered his name in my head. But then, I don't know if you heard this today because you've been running around, but CNN has been playing all day this, and they don't even know what they have, or if they know what they have, they're not even acknowledging how outrageous it is. But Headline News did an interview with all 4 of the prosecutors, including Angela Corey. Mm-hmm. And this is going to run tonight on Headline News, but CNN's been previewing it. And they ask Angela Corey, the interviewer says, I'm going to give you a name, you give me one-word answer. Says George Zimmerman. And we've been playing this. It just takes too long to do. And she pauses for like 20 seconds, and she says, murderer.
I knew that you were going to say that. I have not seen that, but just by the way you set that up, I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to say
She says murderer.
Wow.
They called him a liar. They called him all these things in that interview, and then when he plays this word game, she says murderer. How the heck does she get away with this?
Steve, you got me. I don't know. For a prosecutor to do that, I mean, what they should be doing is nothing now. They should be saying, going up to the podium and on, as they did Saturday night, and ending with, we respect the jury's verdict. That's it. It's all over. The fat lady is sung. I mean, that is it for the prosecution. There are no appeals. There's nothing. And they should not be granting interviews. They should not be talking about this case out of school, out of anything. I
mean, they called him a liar today. After the verdict, they said, who followed who? I mean, it's unbelievable. They're attacking him. You say the media is not, but not on common sense media. But if you go to MSNBC and half of CNN, what do you mean? The anchor talking. What do you mean it wasn't race? I mean, these people, they're full steam ahead. They want to see this man hanged.
Well, I have not been watching because I've been too busy.
Right, I know that. That's why I'm here to inform you.
Thank you, Steve. But so I have not seen any of that. You are telling me things that are maddening. Really, I can't comment on the other networks.
Right, I know. But I'm just, it's just crazy stuff.
On the prosecutors doing that. If that's true, that it's just. There are ethics violations there. I mean, I used to teach ethics and was a prosecutor, and boy, prosecutors are held to a very different standard than criminal defense lawyers. I mean, criminal defense lawyers, they're not there to break the law, but they're there to zealously, to their maximum ability, defend their client. And if that means calling a press conference, if that means using the media, they can do it. Prosecutors, no. That is so against the prosecutorial ethics rule.
Right. Well, let me tell you, Alan Dershowitz, Paul Callan,
yes.
Andy McCarthy, Tamara Holder, and now you have all, and four of the five. I informed you guys of what she said, and that the reaction has been the same from all five of you: stunned, shocked, and there's just, I don't want you to comment, but there's CNN playing this all day, and they don't even tout that answer. They just say, "Oh, we have an exclusive interview with the prosecutors," as if what she said is nothing. Do you believe, as some of the other aforementioned believe, that George Zimmerman now has a defamation suit against her?
Possibly. I mean, certainly a civil lawsuit against for malicious prosecution. The other thing that,
based on what she said, calling him a murderer after the fact.
Yeah. And you brought up Dershowitz, for example, and he brought up the fact that, or at least he's positing, and I think it's maybe true, that they withheld what's called Brady material. That's exculpatory material that could, if not, free a defendant, but certainly the defense would want to know about it.
Well, Lis, look at the guy they just fired on. Not to interrupt, but I'm interrupting. The guy they just fired, for the IT guy who worked in Corey's office for the state, went and said, basically got himself a lawyer and said, we're withholding evidence here. The text messages, the pictures on Trayvon Martin's phone, never given over to the defense, and they fired him the day the case went to the verdict. I mean, to the jury. The case went to the jury.
Yeah, no, that is not good. There should definitely be an investigation, and she should be looked into to see whether or not she withheld Brady material, why this person was fired, all of those things. And that should happen when we all calm down a little bit. That should happen. And, remember Mike Nifong from the Duke lacrosse team?
Yes.
He lost his bar card.
Yes, absolutely, and that's another one that the so-called civil rights leaders were calling the civil rights case of our time. And Jesse Jackson, okay, I just had Alveda King on. First of all, Alveda King said that the NAACP is race baiting, and she disagrees with Jesse Jackson. You have Ben Crump and Jesse Jackson, and I'm sure many others, but those two I know for sure. I have the sound bites saying that Trayvon Martin is right up there with and is in a same sentence as Emmett Till and Medgar Evers. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy who was taken from his bed by two racists because he talked to a white woman and given a horrible death and put a wire around his neck and threw him in the river. And that's what they compared to publicly to Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, both just.
It diminishes, Lis, doesn't it diminish? I mean, I'm white, you're white, so they could have their own opinions. Everyone could, but doesn't it? In my mind, it diminishes what Emmett Till represents.
I cannot disagree with you at all there. No, that's a very sad statement that that you're giving me.
See all the sadness I've given you
Right.
since we've
I
talked?
know,
I've brought
I'm
nothing
really
but sadness
depressed now.
upon you.
I got to go to an ice cream cone.
All right, how's the book doing?
Matter of Trust.
Matter of
It's
Trust.
doing really well. It's about a prosecutor out in Seattle, and she's got to solve a murder mystery. It's based loosely on a colleague of mine who was murdered in his home. So, but it's fun. It's a good beach read.
And it's not Bill O'Reilly.
And I didn't kill Bill this time. I gave him a break.
All right, Lis, we'll watch for you, and thank you so much for making time for us.